And United needed an absolute luck box. They must have just packed the team bus full of, shamrocks and clovers on the way over, on the drive over.
Loaded the bus with shamrocks and clovers. Classic line from the Irishman. I don't even know what it means, but I agree with it 100%. Hello, guys. It is Thursday. It is another episode of Stoppage Time. This time we are covering a big Premier League card for the weekend. Excited to get into breaking that all down. With me today is some of the usual crew. We are missing Carmine. He is away this week, but Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com, Pavlos Lagaretos, also of WagerTalk.com. Of course, I'm Nick Borman, and we are going to discuss all the action we can today in the Premier League. So excited to do that with you fellas. Before we get into that, we have a lot of good deals going on right now at WagerTalk, and I do want to mention one before we kick off the show. This one's for first-time buyers. So if you haven't purchased before, maybe you're checking out the video for the first time. We love to talk and give out all the information we can, but of course our best place are the paid client plays. And right now, as a first-time buyer, customers will receive 15% off anything and everything in their cart on that first purchase. There's no cap, there's no limit. It includes daily packages, it includes long-term packages. And the discount is automatic with no coupon code needed. So if you haven't purchased before, now is a great time to try out any one of these handsome fellas breaking down our soccer matches today. Without further ado, boys, I don't want to get into too much banter. I know, Pavlos is away on holiday half the time. Kevin's, I don't know what he's doing. But tell your sister I said hello. But instead, we're going to get right into the show and break down the matches. I can't wait to do that. And we're going to hop right in. There's, like I said, several good ones this week. First one on the docket we're going to look at today is Wolverhampton, Wolves by some, versus Newcastle. The prices that we're currently seeing as of the taping, plus 338, Wolverhampton on the money line, draw plus 295. Newcastle the favorite at minus 130. Of course, they are coming off a midweek Champions League match. So, Kevin, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I don't know, my opinion on this, I'll follow up after you, is a little swayed probably because of the midweek Champions League match. It was an unexpected result, to say the least. I did not see Dortmund going in there and winning that thing 1-0. So definitely surprising and might be a reactionary kind of a play for me. But I want to know your thoughts on what you think is going to happen in this match and kind of what you thought about Newcastle versus Dortmund.
When you talk about surprising results, Nick, and going back to last week in the Premier League, the Newcastle Crystal Palace result kind of surprised me. Crystal Palace are the epitome of a grindy, win one, lose one, draw one, win one, lose one, draw one, rinse and repeat, always finishing mid-table. But when they lose, they don't often get beaten games. They lost to Arsenal 1-0, they lost to Tottenham 1-0, they lost to Brighton 1-0. They grind it out. And I remember going into last weekend, I felt like there was some value in potentially taking Crystal Palace on the handicap line to keep that game close. Didn't end up making my card, but that's definitely the way I leaned. Especially with that midweek Champions League game you just mentioned against Dortmund. But, in the Premier League, Newcastle just continue to roll. They absolutely torched Palace, which is a hard thing to do. I know Palace are no world beaters, but the way in which they just opened them up in that game, put 3 goals past them in just the opening 45 minutes. Obviously we all realise Newcastle are a good team, but you kind of really have to start treating them now like proper Manchester City, Liverpool level. They finished above Liverpool in the table last year. They scored more goals than Manchester United. They had a higher offensive XG than Arsenal. They were tied joint first alongside Manchester City in terms of goal allowed as well. They just battered PSG 4-1 a couple of weeks ago as well. We'll pretend for this breakdown that the Dortmund game didn't happen. Let's pretend we're taping on Monday. But I've been impressed with Newcastle, especially in the league. I just don't believe, even with everything going on domestically, I just don't think they're getting enough respect. Manchester City came in to the Molineux, Wolves' home ground, at the end of last month and went off as minus 250 road favourites. And you're telling me you can get Newcastle at minus 128? Is there that much of a perceived difference between the two sides? I get that it's a short week, but, if we think back to just before the Wolves game, City used Alvarez, they used Doku, Foden, and so on, just 2 days prior to that game against Wolves in the AFL Cup against Newcastle. So you could argue the situation's, a little bit comparable. And that's a massive difference in the price. So look, at the end of the day, Wolves were my best bet in the Premier League last week. I took them plus a quarter goal to get the job done against Bournemouth. They delivered. But anyone who read my breakdown of that game saw how heavily I felt the situation, involving Gary O'Neill returning to his former club was key. The club that he saved in Bournemouth from relegation, only for them, for them to turn around and then boot him out the door just a couple of weeks later. You could imagine he would have had that game circled since he first took over the Wolves job. Get that revenge. But that's not the case this week. Look, Wolves are a decent team. They're solid, but they're certainly no world beaters. And we're getting who I view as an elite team. I think they're one of the most elite teams in all of Europe. What they've done in Europe so far, again, we'll pretend the Dortmund game didn't happen, has proved that even the kind of Tonali news hasn't really put me off the fact that I still think Newcastle are an elite team. And this amounts to a pretty generous price in my eyes just to get the outright victory this weekend. So, yeah, Newcastle straight up for me in this one to beat Wolves. I think there's a significant difference in quality between these two teams.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that, Kevin. I mean, I was big on them last year. The second best expected goal differential in the Premier League last year was an indicator that this team was no joke, and then the results were certainly not a fluke. So, yeah, Dortmund game aside, they have been very, very impressive this year. No argument that they're a better team here. It's just a matter of, is it a weird spot for them? Pavlos, I'll go to you next before I add my thoughts. Do you agree with Kevin? Do you think there's any chance for Wolverhampton in this one?
Yeah, I actually do favor Wolverhampton in this spot. I was dead wrong with Wolves at the start of the season. I have a future. I think it's just 2-3% on Wolves to get relegated. But boy, I think just 2 months in the season, I think I was dead wrong with that one. I think Wolves are much better than I personally and a lot of other people that I talked to expected them to be. They're doing really good. They're sitting at the middle of the table. I don't think they're gonna be threatened by relegation this season. They lost to Liverpool, they lost to Palace, they lost to Brighton and United, but those are really good teams, and Newcastle are up there with them in the sense that they're really good. But here's what worries me: injury concerns and absences overall for Newcastle. As Kevin said, Tonali has been hit by a 10-month ban. He's going to be out. They do have the players to substitute him specifically, but what they don't have is players up front, in the sense that Isak was substituted early in their match against Dortmund midweek. He's going to miss the next match, so he's been their top scorer so far in the season. Yes, they do have Wilson behind him, who is an adequate substitution, but they lost a little bit of steam there. Then there's Jacob Murphy, who is not the flashiest of players, but he's the second in assists so far in the season in the EPL for Newcastle with 3 and 1 goal. So he's out as well. Harvey Barnes, who is also, in the start of the season, he had a goal and an assist. He's also injured. Botman at the defense is also injured. So all these things combined, and along with the fact that Wolves, they're always grindy. They don't really lose that easily. I think they can defend the spread here, which, by the way, maybe it will change. So my pick is Wolves plus 3/4 of a goal, which is a split line between Wolves plus half a goal and Wolves plus 1 goal. So even if they lose by 1 goal exactly, we still have a half loss in that bet. So we're essentially buying 2.5 results. Wolves to win, the draw, they give us full payout, and if they lose by 1 goal, we only lose half our stake. So, Newcastle, they have really mixed results on the road. They've only won 1 of their 5 away matches so far in all competitions. It was an 8-0 win against Sheffield United, but they had a 2-2 draw against West Ham, a goalless draw against AC Milan in the Champions League, a 3-1 loss to Brighton, and a 1-0 loss to Manchester City. So a little bit of contradicting, results and stats here. Both teams to score is amazingly 15-1 in the EPL matches of these two sides all time. And Wolves are on a 7-0 run to the both teams to score, but Newcastle don't really like both teams to score. So I'm going to take a small stake bet on Wolves plus the quarter goal. It's not my best lean of the week, but I think Newcastle have some troubles right now.
Yeah, Pavlos, I actually kind of agree with you a little bit on this one. Similarly, it's not like a love spot necessarily for me, but Kevin mentioned, the results of Newcastle last season, second in the league in expected goal differential behind Man City this year. The number one and number two teams are once again Man City and Newcastle. However, right now Newcastle is on top, 1.51 compared to 1.26. And I know you get, those are a little bit different depending on where you look, but Newcastle is, again, one of the top teams here in the league. So no arguments there for many of us, of course. It's just, is this a spot that Wolves could sneak some? The one thing I'll say is, the schedule makers must hate the Wolves. I mean, the fact that their home schedule so far has been Brighton, Liverpool, Man City, even Aston Villa, and now you got Newcastle. I mean, they just wanted them to go 0-5. So that's 5 teams all in the top 7 of the table. It's pretty rough. So the one thing I'll kind of add on the fact that schedule's been tough is maybe that gives them some confidence. They've had a couple results out of those. They do have a win and a draw out of those first 4, which is pretty good considering that competition. And they're clearly battle tested. If this line was a half a goal, just a standard double chance, I probably wouldn't take it. But the 3/4 of a goal has me willing to take a chance simply on the fact that, if Newcastle win, I don't think it's necessarily going to come in blowout fashion. I think Wolves can keep it close, and that reduces our risk if it's just a 1-goal loss. As you mentioned, Pavlos, it would just be a half loss on the wager. So I agree with that. Wolves, possibly being able to keep this close. Maybe they sneak a draw. Maybe it's just a 1-goal loss. I say that, though, of course, and Newcastle's had, prior to that Dortmund match, had scored 20 goals over their previous 5 matches. So I guess you just never know. But I do think Wolves can keep this close enough. It's worth something on Wolverhampton this week. So a little bit of conflicting opinions here on this match, but we just want to give you our opinions, and you guys make the most of it with your own wagers. Gentlemen, let's move on to the second game. Before we do, I do want to talk about another promo. This one's very exciting. Next Tuesday, Customer Appreciation Day. We're going to have multiple $2 plays available, not just the usual one that we do, but multiple plays from multiple handicappers. We have special offers. We're going to be giving out a free day of the Gold Sheet newsletter. So if there is any day to check out WagerTalk, it's going to be next Tuesday. So make sure you circle that on your calendar, set your reminder on your phone, wake up early, and check out everything that WagerTalk has to offer next Tuesday for Customer Appreciation Day. All right, guys, let's move on to game number 2. This one is the Hammers. That's West Ham, favorites at home, plus 109 over Everton, plus 244 on the road, and the draw set at plus 260. Pavlos, this one I'm going to give you the privilege of covering first. If you look at the Hammers and Everton, I'll get into it, I guess, when I mention this game, but I don't think Everton's as bad as people think they are, or at least that they were. I know it's early in the season, but they've had some pretty good data behind the scenes. But Pavlos, what do you think here? Are you looking at a side? Are you looking at a total goals? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking goals. Now the over 2.5 goals is just a bit too low for me. It's minus 135. I think you have to go to the over 2.75 goals at minus 105 to find some, good value. But here's the thing: if you pick the over 2.75 goals and there's exactly 3 goals in that match, you only get half a win. So I want us all to get a full win. So I'm gonna, in situations like this, I like to do a same game parlay with both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. Now here's the deal: West Ham are 10-2 to the both teams to score in all competitions so far in the season, and 9-3 to the over 2.5 goals. While the both teams to score and over 2.5 goals combo showed up in 9 of their 12 matches so far. Everton on the road, as you said, Nick, they're not really good, but they're better than everybody expected, me included. I think their offense is starting to click. The additions of Beto and maybe a little bit of Danjuma, and the Calvert-Lewin, who is supposed to be their star striker, is still starting to get back to where he used to be. So their defense is not that bad. So however, they didn't keep any clean sheets on the road so far in the season in 6 away matches across all competitions, and that includes 2 EFL Cup matches against Aston Villa and a League 2 side, Doncaster. So they didn't keep any clean sheets on the road, conceded a couple of goals on numerous occasions, but they did score. at least 2 goals in 4 of their 6 away matches. Scored a couple of goals against Aston Villa, 3 goals against Everton, 2 goals against Sheffield United, and 2 goals against Doncaster in the EFL Cup. So they're not the tragic offensive side that they were last season. They're actually much better on the offensive end. And West Ham. They don't really keep a lot of clean sheets. They play this open style of soccer where, they can concede 1 or 2 goals, but they try to outscore the opposition. So I think this is one of the matches where it's going to have a lot of goals here. So sign me up for both teams to score and over 2.5 goals at -110.
Pavlos, I'm in complete agreement once again with you on this play. I was just going to suggest the over 2 3/4 goals. I do like your idea of combining the both teams to score and over 2.5, because 2-1 kind of either way does seem like a likely scenario. Listen, the Hammers, they've scored in every match this season. They average 1.62 expected goals per game. Their defensive numbers are even worse. They're allowing 2.2 expected goals per match. Now, they did allow over 4 to both Man City and Liverpool. So, skewing the numbers a little bit, but you take those out and it's still pretty high at 1.68. You add in, perhaps Thursday's trip to Olympiacos right there for you, Pavlos, in Greece. They could have some tired legs defensively. So I think the Hammers score, and I just don't see them keeping a clean sheet. That's what it comes down to. So I agree with the both teams to score is probably a good way to kind of buy down this total in case it just does end on 3 goals. Everton, they did have kind of a horrible start to the season, but I think they've been much better since then. They were held scoreless in 4 of those first 5 matches, but they've since scored 7 goals in their last 4. They were kept off the board, of course, in their last match versus Liverpool. Then again, there was that red card in the first half. Certainly didn't help their cause, but that was always going to be a tough match for them. But the craziest stat for me is Everton is averaging 1.96 expected goals per match this season, ranked 7th in the league. This team is creating chances more than I think people are giving them credit for. And now that Kevin's favorite manager in the world, Big Frank Lampard, isn't there, at the helm, I think it's it must be working for them. So I think Everton are a little bit better than people are giving them credit. And so I agree with you on goals. Kevin, I'm going to go to you to finish this one off. Please tell us you got something different than just another mention on the goals, because I know the viewers want something else here.
Well, if it's, any consolation, I do like goals as well, so it'll probably finish 1-0 now. But, from a side perspective, look, if you're going to say this is a high shootout type of game, I'm going to take West Ham because, to me, Everton still have a bit of a hangover from that early season form where they couldn't find the back of the net. XG's like me playing golf. Put me next to the hole. Give me the world's most expensive titanium, laser-guided putter. I'll still find a way to mess the shot up, 8 times out of 10. It's hard not to like what's coming out of Everton right now. From the data standpoint at least. 4th in the league in offensive XG since September 1st. That's pretty incredible to see them right behind the likes of Newcastle, Liverpool and Tottenham in that regard. They're miles above City since September 1st as well. You could look at recent form as well. If you just looked at the table, you would see West Ham have won just 1 of the last 5 in the EPL. But look at who the Hammers have played. Villa, Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester City. It really doesn't get much tougher than that. And they return home to face an Everton side in this one who, head-to-head wise, they've beaten 3 of the last 4. So, this is a little bit similar to the last game for me. I'm not really going to overcomplicate it. I agree with you guys in terms of goals. And if this is going to descend into a bit of a shootout, I think West Ham, are likely going to come out on top. If that's the case, I see them as, again, the kind of significantly better team heading into this one. Yes, they're going to be off a short week playing in Europa League on Thursday night. But, if you look at that group in Europa League, they're already, well in command. So, yeah, plus money on the Hammers looks like a decent price in this one. And actually, I might even, stick a bit on West Ham and the over 2.5 as well.
I like it, Kev. I think, West Ham more often than not should win this match. Price is pretty fair. There's a little, just really don't know what to expect from them coming on the short turnaround. So either way, I think it's going to be a fun match, more entertaining than we probably would have expected to see the last couple of years. That is for sure. All right, gentlemen, we're going to move on to our third and final match, which, of course, is going to be the biggest match, I think, in Europe this weekend, although El Clasico is also this weekend in Spain, so I've got to give them credit. Before we get into that, I just want to remind everybody to hit that like button on today's shows, drop your comments down below on your thoughts on any of the matches that we're covering, or if you have some suggestions on any other Premier League matches going on this weekend. And remember to subscribe to WagerTalk TV on YouTube so you never miss a show. NFL and college football in full force. NBA, of course, just getting going. NHL a couple weeks into the season as well. So there are shows on every sport. It is a great time to be a sports bettor. So make sure you subscribe to WagerTalk TV. Gentlemen, the Manchester Derby. Now, typically, if there's one team that's had a little bit of success, sustained success over the years against City, you got to argue it's United. I mean, you look back at the results of these teams, and they have had solid results. In the last 12 meetings, City has 6 wins, United has 5, and there's been 1 draw. So it's pretty split pretty evenly. If you go back much further, the tide does start to turn United's way. Of course, City's more of a newer dominant team in terms of soccer history, so you kind of really can't go back that far anyway. But United have had a good success. However, what do we think about United's current form and how they've been playing? I know they actually have gotten a couple wins recently, but nothing's been convincing, right? It's not a team that I'm excited to get behind and back like they were last year. That second half of the season last year was a team you kind of wanted to get your money on every time you simply could. So I have a lot of worries in how they've been performing. Again, they are getting some results, but sneaking by teams like Copenhagen, is not the best omen when you're going to have to face Man City. But again, this is a derby. It does tend to play out a little differently. Form can be thrown out the window. All that kind of comes into play here. So I'll kind of throw out my opinion on this one first and then go to you guys. What's craziest to me for City, they've played 13 matches now in all competitions. They've kept only 3 clean sheets, yet only twice as their opponent created more than 1 expected goal, which does suggest to me at some point we should see some positive regression on the defensive side for them. Maybe eventually they'll keep a clean sheet. Now, maybe it's, the fact of the game is sometimes they get up pretty big and maybe they take their foot off the neck, if you will, a little bit, but still they aren't really allowing a lot of chances. However, sometimes, or it seems more often than not, the teams are finding a way to get into the back of the net. So I agree City is the better side. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. I don't necessarily love the price on them, and this is probably a match I really just kind of sit back and watch. But if I'm going to get involved, I'm going to kind of do something where it's going to be, all right, I'm going to get a pretty good return on this, and if it doesn't win, I'm not putting a lot of money on it anyway. So I think City to win is the right side. I actually am going to go with combining that. City to win to 0. You're going to get over 2-1 on your money. Again, I just think, Will United have some chances? Sure, but they haven't been very convincing. They haven't been creating a lot of great chances, and City have been pretty solid defensively, even though they are conceding. They aren't giving up a lot of good chances. So it's worth a shot, I think, in my opinion, City to win to 0. Kevin, I'm going to go to you next on this and see what you're thinking as far as side I think you're looking at in this match. But, do you think United have any chance in this match?
Well, look, I mean, you mentioned the head-to-head record and stuff. They definitely have a chance. Derbies are always their own unique phenomenon in a way. They'll get up for this game. You wouldn't write them off, but Harry Maguire as your man of the match, that to me is a red flag for United moving forward. As you mentioned, you could point at a recent 3-win record as a potential reason for optimism. And look, plus they're playing a Manchester City team here that have failed to impress this season. They've lost 3 of the last 5 away from home. United won the last head-to-head, I believe, back in January as well. So when you're getting north of 4-1, potentially there might be some value perceived there. But I can't do it for one. You mentioned the Copenhagen game in midweek. United got over the line somehow. But I thought Copenhagen were done a little bit harshly. They had more dangerous attacks in that game than United. They had that penalty saved right at the end as well. And we look back at the games before that for United. United had far less offensive XG than Sheffield United. The same Sheffield United who are currently sitting rock bottom of the Premier League table on 0 wins and 24 goals against. And United needed an absolute luck box. They must have just packed the team bus full of, shamrocks and clovers on the way over, on the drive over to host Brighton, because I don't know how they won that game. Scott McTominay popping up with, 2 of the most extreme late goals you'll see all year. So, 3 wins for United on the surface, but they could honestly be 0-3, or at least on a 3-game winless run, given the way they've played in those games. And while I realise City have had their issues this season, the fact is United just aren't on their level. Rodri, I thought Manchester City weren't that overly impressive against young boys, but Rodri at least looked back to his best. I thought he was very influential in the middle. And like I said, I just believe City are far too strong here. So, yes, derby game probably won't make my card because of all the intangible factors. But if I'm betting this one, I'm definitely taking Manchester City.
Loaded the bus with shamrocks and clovers. Classic line from the Irishman. I don't even know what it means, but I agree with it 100%. Pavlos, let's go to you to wrap this one up. United. Any way to get your money on them this week? What do you think?
Almost. I know this might not be a very popular opinion, but let's take a look at the facts surrounding this match. Now, Manchester United, they beat Copenhagen by 1-0 in a match where Maguire scored a goal and Onana saved a penalty kick. Now, was this a pure amount of luck for Manchester United? Maybe. Or was it a turning point in their season? Now, if they were playing against any other team, like literally any other team in the EPL, I would back them up in this spot. But they're so unlucky to see, 2 of their most underperforming players, 2 players that have heard a lot in the social media, 2 black holes in their defense, if you ask me, perform quite well in a match. And then now you have to face City and Haaland, who, Haaland, I think we touched upon him in the previous show. He wasn't having a really good stretch of games. He was scoreless in several of them, but he bounced back with a couple of goals against the young boys. Maybe he gets his mojo back. I think this is a very bad timing for Manchester United, who, yes, they're getting healthier. They got Reguilon back at the left flank. They're getting some, players back in the defense because I think it was, last week they were playing against Sheffield United. I didn't have a play in this match, and when I saw the lineups, I saw Maguire and Evans starting at center back. I said, okay, both teams scoring over 2.5 goals. Just a 1-unit play for me, but it was an easy win. So now their defense is not that terrible. Varane is back, Reguilon is back, so they're starting to be, much more competitive in the defense. I think they're gonna, I initially thought of taking Manchester United with some kind of a spread, but then I looked at the first half stats, and that's where I think I found a gem. It's not, a 5% play or a huge play, just a lean for me. But I'm going to take first half Manchester United plus a quarter goal at even money. There's several reasons why I like that, and the stats are really contradicting in this spot. Manchester United in EPL matches, in home first halves in the EPL matches, they haven't won. They have 0 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses in home first halves. They scored just 1 goal and conceded 5. So at some point they're gonna stop sucking so much in first halves. And what a better match to start doing so with a match against your fierce rivals, Manchester City. Yes, Manchester City can drop 2-3 goals on you in the first half alone if you're not careful. But on the road, they haven't had it easy themselves, because Manchester City in first halves on the road, they have won just once. 1 win, 2 draws, and 2 losses. Scored 2, conceded 2. So they play totally different on the road, especially in first halves, than they play at home. They play very carefully. Sometimes they lose, yes, in the first halves. They have already 2 losses in first halves away from home so far in the season. So I think Manchester United, if they want to take anything from this match, they're going to have to play really good defense in that first half, and they're going to have to be very, very careful. So even if it's a draw in the first half, we still get half a win from this bet. So the last time these two met was in the FA Cup final. Manchester City, yes, they won 2-1, but it was a 1-1 draw in the first half. So Manchester United, it was a neutral ground in the Wembley Stadium. It was a final, but they held out for a draw. And the previous match, they beat Manchester City by 2-1 in round 20 of the EPL last season. Goalless draw in the first half as well. So I think there's a very good chance that Manchester United will try to at least, slow the game down in the first half. Maybe the under is something to look at, but I think with taking Manchester United plus a quarter goal, and again, I know this might not be a popular bet. I know a lot of people are gonna, bet on City, and I wouldn't blame them. But I just, in the corner of my eye, in the corner of my mind, I think because Onana and Maguire had such a good game, maybe they can bring that good mojo to the weekend. So sign me up for first half, Manchester United plus a quarter goal, even money.
Listen, I'm just glad we got different opinions on the game, Pavlos. Again, that's the goal here, is to offer all our advice and let the viewers make what they will of it. As you're talking, I'm interested to, the rumor is that Messi is going to win the Ballon d'Or, which is next week, that presentation. So part of me is wondering what kind of a fire Haaland's going to have under his his feet here as he goes forward and trying to prove the world wrong on that. So it kind of be interesting to maybe jump on him. I know he's been struggling a little bit. Maybe his goal scoring props might be a time to get on those. So you kind of reminded me as you were talking about that. But anyway, good breakdown there, gentlemen. Let's wrap up today's show. We'll do a quick recap for everybody, and you guys can let the viewers know what you got going on your pages at WagerTalk. Kevin, I'll go to you first. While you're going over what you have up, we'll put your leans for today up on the screen. So let the viewers know what you got going on.
Yeah, things going really well right now, Nick. Came off a 2-0 start in NBA. Won both of our Champions League plays on Wednesday as well. So riding pretty hot right now. And if you use code ACCESS3, you can knock $20 off a 3-day all-access pass heading into the weekend. I've already got a ton of selections loaded up on soccer for this weekend. Already have all the system plays loaded. If you haven't had a chance to follow me on Twitter, I give those out daily. College football's up, NFL's loaded, NBA's up daily as well. So great time to jump on board, obviously, and profit with me across multiple sports.
Excellent. Good luck to you, Kev. I know you got a lot going on this time of year. Pavlos, let the viewers know what you got going on, and we'll get your leans up on the screen.
Yeah, I have a couple of best bets, one loaded for Friday, one loaded for Saturday. I've been on fire this season, guys, and there's no other way to say it. I'm number one all sports last 30 days, year to date, last 365 days. It's been going amazing. I did a small, tweak in my handicapping, and it's been working wonders in 2023. Two best bets loaded for Friday and Saturday, and there's a lot more plays that I'm looking for the weekend. So grab your 3-day pass and let's cast together.
Listen, Pavlos, you earned it. Toot your own horn, my friend. Good job on those results. Keep it up. I hope you keep kicking butt as we move forward. I'm focusing a lot of my attention this weekend on MLS playoffs are here. Love my futures positions I had before the end of this regular season, so going to let those go, but really looking forward to the playoffs this weekend. And of course, it is a pretty good card in Europe this weekend. I mentioned El Clasico, of course, the Manchester Derby. So even if you're not getting down on a lot, there's a lot of good games to check out. I want to remind everybody one last time, now's a great time to check out promos going on at WagerTalk. We got the Customer Appreciation $2 Tuesday next week. First-time buyers, 15% off everything in the cart. So again, take that opportunity to grab first time on purchasing with any one of the handicappers on WagerTalk. Or again, of course, we will always say soccer is best. Reminder, we will be back again next Thursday, and just want to say thank you for tuning in. Good luck this weekend with your bets. Enjoy the games, and we will see you guys next week.